Okay, we're going to take a look at how to draw the nose and the mouth in this video. We're going to tackle those two things together because they relate to each other and they share similar space. Now, just like we've done for everything else in this drawing so far, we're going to follow the grid. And so I want to look at what parts of the feature are inside of the grid. I think it's really helpful in this phase, before drawing anything on my drawing paper, to take a soft pencil like a 6B and carefully come in here and outline right on the photograph where the edges of my features are. So I'm going to find the edge of this nostril, the edge of the skin on both sides. You have to look really closely to find that. I'm going to follow right along the curve of the skin of the nostril, not the black area, but the skin above the shadow. Same on the left side. I'm looking closely here to find where those edges are. And then the tip of the nose, where it comes down and meets the flesh of the lip. Okay. Similarly, I want to see where my cheeks are happening. And so I'm going to follow along the edge of my cheek, in this case down into the dimple. Same on that side. By defining those things, it's going to make it easier for me to draw on my drawing paper. We are not going to draw any lines that come straight up into the eyes. That's a tendency people have, but it's an incorrect thing to do. That flattens the face out and it makes it look like the person's wearing kind of like a Halloween mask. Okay, so we're going to handle all of this area up here through shading. Now we may draw some value shapes in at some point, but right now when we're outlining the features, we're only going to be dealing with the edges of things. In a moment, we'll come down and do the same thing for the mouth. So let's zoom out and take a look at our drawing paper as well. We're using an HB pencil, okay? And what I'm looking to do here is find what square my nose begins in. I see that that's 11F. I'm finding 11F, and I want to find where that nostril enters. And I see that that's just to the left of center at the top of this grid line. I'm going to come down along my nostril, curve up, and then it starts to curve back down before I exit this grid square. Comes almost to the bottom of that grid square. The middle of the nose travels over, so I'm over in this area now. It's traveling over, and I'm going to stop there because now I want to come over to this side of the nostril. I can see that the top of the nostril hits this grid line. That's the line between 10 and 11. The edge of the nostril hits the G line, the vertical line, and then it comes around and curves. Those are good points of reference for me. Okay, and what that does is it allows me to be more accurate. And so I'll need to come back and erase a little bit here because I was, a little bit off. Okay, now you may say, wow, that's a big nose. Trust that that is the correct size. It will look less large once we have the rest of the features in place and once we start to shade. Okay, I know it's correct because I followed the grid. Most of the nose exists in this G11 square. Part of the nose exists in the F11 square. And now we're going to come over and form the cheek that's on the left side. That joins the nose here, comes down and exits this grid square right about in the middle, creates a little triangle in the next grid square. And I think I need to come a little harder on a curve. There we go. When it enters over here, it's pretty far left in this grid square, and then it curves down. Now we're going to come over here. This cheek crease does not touch the nostril in my photograph. It begins in H11. It follows, it's going to go all the way down. It kind of curves and then comes down right in this corner and down like so. Okay, so that's the nose and the two cheek creases. Now, let's come in and take a look at the mouth. The temptation when drawing the mouth is to draw every individual tooth. Okay, we are gonna draw the teeth, but we're gonna begin by drawing the gums, and then the lower teeth, we're actually going to treat those lower teeth like they're not there. Okay, and what that's gonna do is allow us to define the upper teeth more. So we'll start by drawing the upper gums, whatever we can see of them, and then we'll draw the space below the upper teeth. And so I'm gonna take a moment here and outline which upper teeth I can see. Outlining the bottom of these upper teeth. Now I'm not drawing any of the lines in between the teeth, because that's gonna end up making our teeth almost look like little kernels of corn or little pebbles. All right, so now I'm observing where the gums are, and that's what I wanna start to draw. Not even worried about the lips just yet. So on my drawing, it's 12, and these middle teeth are in the G square. 12G, and it's about halfway down. It is so important that you draw what you see, not what you think you see or you expect to see. Okay, take the time to observe carefully. I noticed that I get all the way over here to the edge of this gum on this tooth, and I'm just about to the end of G, but not even quite. I start the next one, and that's about it. Now I'm going to come back over the other direction. I'm starting to go into F. F comes over. And guys, it's okay to redraw and adjust and erase. You don't have to get it right the first time. You should not expect that of yourself. Okay, so that's the upper gum. Now is a chance for me to draw part of the lip, and I'm just going to draw the lower edge of the upper lip. And so it comes all the way over into H12. H12. It comes right about here. I can see where the corner of the mouth is in relation to the crease of the cheek. Okay, so I want to look at those two things together. And I'm going to come along. Sure enough, that should be hitting the top of my gums. All right, so let's continue. We're gonna follow all the way over to this left corner, and that's over here in E12. So I'm checking E12, good. And again, I can see where the crease of the cheek is, and that should give me a sense of where my corner of the mouth should end. These things are puzzle pieces, they all fit together. Okay, so I'm gonna stop there. I'm not gonna fulfill the temptation of like coming down along the bottom of the mouth or the lips at this point. Nope. We want to stick to our plan here. So I've got the upper lip drawn, I've got the gums drawn, and now what I'm going to do is come along and draw the lower edge of the teeth. Where you begin on this is really your choice. I like to start in the middle because teeth are somewhat symmetrical, and so I can work to the right and then to the left. And so I'm going to start right here with this left front tooth where it crosses the grid line, which is the FG grid line. It's a little above the bottom of the grid, right above the 12 line, a little lower than what I drew it. Okay, and I'm looking at this bottom contour. And I should see that the teeth dip upwards or curve upwards right about where the gums curve downwards. But I'm not going to draw all the way up here. I'm just going to follow this bottom edge. Okay, because the head is slightly turned in this photo, the teeth are also slightly turned. You're going to see they're at an angle. Yes, I followed that one up, and now I'm going to come down along this tooth. And then work my way. You really, really have to look closely on these because especially on a young picture like this, not all the teeth are formed completely. Some of these baby teeth are pretty small. Right? And now I'm going to work my way to the left. And you can see I'm not drawing the lines in between the teeth. I'm just following the contour of each tooth. That is so important because it's going to allow us to create the shape of the teeth. Okay, and that's about all I can see on this side of the mouth. We're going to see that maybe there's a little bit of a tooth over here. All right. Now that I've got that defined, I can come in and draw the edge of the lower lip. So it rides right along this grid line, and then it starts to curve up. And it's going to curve up all the way to about here. And over on this side, this is one of those times that I could just be like, well, it probably does the same thing on the other side, but it doesn't. It's slightly different on this side because our bodies are unique, our smiles are unique. And so we want to look at what they do uniquely in our drawings, okay? Now, over in this space, there's a pretty nice shadow. And so I'm going to draw the edge of that shadow shape as well, which goes from about here. Once again, I'm using the grid to see where that is. That's the inside of the lip. And I don't really see that. I mean, I see a shadow here, but we aren't gonna draw the lower teeth because that will just confuse this area. We will eventually come in and start to shade these teeth to make them look three-dimensional instead of drawing lines. Okay, now the lower lip. It's difficult to see here where the edge of this lower lip is, but once again, I'm gonna take a 6B pencil and look for any sort of shadow or edge. Now, if it's really hard to see this in your photograph, use the digital photograph that I've emailed you. That should have more clarity. That should show you more of what you're looking for. Okay, and then the upper lip here is pretty thin, and then it becomes more full in the middle, and then it curves back down. Okay, so I'm gonna draw that now. So the lower lip gets thickest down here. Comes down like so. And it comes up, use the grid. And it comes up like this. And then I can see there's a nice big shadow. This is where I'm going to start to draw shadows a little bit, which we'll work on more on Wednesday. That shadow is going to help me understand where to shade. And we'll see on Wednesday that we're going to do a lot of that shadow drawing. And that'll create kind of a template or a map for us to be able to shade along. And then the upper lip, again, it follows here right along the lower edge of the upper lip and then starts to curve up. Okay, so that's pretty much the nose and the mouth. Now I've got a little bit of cleanup to do here in the nose where I redrew some things, a little bit of that here in the tooth as well. That's pretty good for the initial nose and mouth drawing.